Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Hit the Apex. I'm Charlie, and today we have a race reaction to the 2022 Miami Grand Prix here on Hit the Apex. Unfortunately, this is a bit late um, due to exams, basically. So this is the only time I've been able to do it. So we'll get straight to it in a moment. So the 2022 Miami Grand Prix will start, of course, from the beginning of the weekend. FP1 looked like this. Leclerc with 25 laps, a 131 flat, had him at the top, with Russell doing a 131.1 in second, followed by Verstappen and Perez in both Red Bulls. The AlphaTauri Pierre Gasly in P5, and then Carlos Sainz in P6. Albon in 7th, with Hamilton in 8th, Magnussen 9th, the two McLaren boys of Ricciardo and Norris in 10th and 11th. Alonso was in 12th, Guan Yu Zhou 13th, Vettel in 14th, Ocon 15th, Lance Stroll 16th, Bottas in 17th, Tsunoda in 18th, Schumacher 19th, and Latifi in 20th place in FP1. So the FP1 overview then. Leclerc tops FP1 for Ferrari from George Russell. Mercedes bring a selection of upgrades. And Bottas brought out the first red flags of the weekend in FP1. So on to FP2 then. Russell, Leclerc, Perez, Hamilton, Alonso, Norris, Gasly, Guan Yu Zhou, Ocon, Magnussen, Sainz, Ricciardo, Tsunoda, Vettel, Schumacher, Stroll, Albon, and Latifi. No running for Verstappen or Valtteri Bottas. Big up Charlie in the chat. Hope you're well, mate. So the FP2 overview then. Leclerc finished top of the opening session for Ferrari. George Russell at the top of FP2. Carlos Sainz crashed in FP2. And Verstappen only managed one lap due to a hydraulics problem. And finally, in FP3, Perez went quickest, followed by Leclerc, Verstappen, Alonso, Vettel, Schumacher, Sainz, Magnussen, Albon, Norris, Tsunoda, Stroll, Ricciardo, Bottas, Hamilton, Gasly, Russell, Guan Yu Zhou, Latifi, and minimal running there for Esteban Ocon. Cheers for that, Charlie, mate. The link for my football channel is also in the description, so if you do subscribe to that as well, that would be much appreciated. So the FP3 overview. Sergio Perez tops FP3 for Red Bull from Charles Leclerc. Ocon crashed into the barriers, bringing out the red flags, and another hot day in Miami on the Saturday, of course, qualifying day, with a small risk of thunderstorms. An FP3 start, Perez fastest, Alonso 4th, Vettel 5th, Schumacher 6th. The midfield looks beautifully poised for qualifying. And Ocon's FP3 crash had an impact of 51G, whilst Carlos Sainz's crash was at 47. Drivers have called for the FIA to change the barriers from concrete to Tech Pro to lessen the potential impact. The FIA have not done it. Yeah, the football channel's dug out daily. Yeah. So on to qualifying then. The starting grid looked like this. It was Leclerc on pole with Sainz in second, Verstappen, Perez, Bottas, Hamilton, Gasly, Norris, Tsunoda, Lance Stroll, Alonso, Russell, Vettel, Ricciardo, Schumacher and Magnussen, Guan Yu Zhou, Albon, Latifi, and Ocon. So the qualifying overview. Leclerc grabs pole for Ferrari, Sainz in second, eliminated in Q1 Magnussen, Guan Yu Zhou, Albon, Latifi, and Ocon. In Q2, it was Alonso, Russell, Vettel, Ricciardo, and Schumacher. Ocon crashed in final practice and didn't take part in qualifying. So the fastest sectors, Sainz was quickest in sector 1, Leclerc quickest in sector 2, and Sergio Perez quickest in sector 3. And a Q3 start. Teams with both drivers in Q3, Ferrari, Red Bull, and AlphaTauri. And finally, Ferrari 1-2, Red Bull 3-4. So it was interesting qualifying there. Yeah. Dugout Daily, the football channel, Charlie. So the race result then, we'll go through that in a moment. If you do want to read this, you're going to have to put it full screen for a moment if you're not in full screen. So, Guan Yu Zhou, Norris, Gasly, Vettel and Magnussen all DNF'd, with Gasly and Norris both losing 11 positions. Guan Yu Zhou lost 3 from the starting grid and Vettel lost 4. Magnussen didn't lose any. Schumacher didn't move it as well. He stayed in 15th. Latifi gained 5 positions and finished in 14th. Ricciardo gained a position and finished in 13th. Tsunoda lost 3 for 12th. And Alonso missed out on the points due to a penalty. He missed out on the points by a 10th over Lance Stroll, who stayed in 10th, qualified in 10th for Aston Martin and stayed there. Alex Albon gained 9 positions for P9. Ocon gained 12 positions for P8. Bottas lost 2 positions for P7. Hamilton didn't move in P6. Russell gained 7 positions for P5. Perez didn't move for P4. Both Ferraris both lost a place, with Leclerc second, Sainz in third, with Max Verstappen winning with the fastest lap as well on lap 54. So on the 2 stops, we had Perez, Tsunoda, Ricciardo and Gasly. And you can see the difference in time they lost in the pit lane, with Perez pitting 27 and 41. Tsunoda 11 and 41, Ricciardo 30 and 41 as well. With both Hasses, Schumacher 14 and 54, Magnussen 12 and 42, and finally Gasly 16 and 40, with Magnussen only driving 56 laps, Vettel 54, Gasly 45, Lando Norris 39, with Guan Yu Zhou driving 6 laps. There. On the race overview, Verstappen wins in Miami for Red Bull, Leclerc second, Carlos Sainz third. Late contact between Gasly and Norris brings out the safety car, and Vettel and Schumacher also made contacts as well. So the race winners at this point, of course, we've had Spain since this race. Verstappen had won 3 Grand Prix at this point. Of course, he made it 4 in Spain. Leclerc has won 2, Bahrain and Australia. And the driver standings at this point, Latifi remained in 21st, with him, Hülkenberg in 20th and Schumacher in 19th, gaining no positions, all on 0 points. Guan Yu Zhou lost 2 positions down to 18th. Lance Stroll gained a position for 17th. He's now on 2 points. Alonso loses a position for 16th. Alex Albon gains 2 positions for 15th, a big 2 points there for Williams. And the rest of the drivers didn't lose or gain any positions. So Vettel 14th, Gasly, Tsunoda 13th, 12th, Ricciardo 11th, Magnussen in 10th, Ocon 9th, Bottas 8th, Hamilton 7th, Norris 6th, Sainz in 5th, Russell in 4th, Perez in 3rd, Verstappen in second and Leclerc in first. So this is at this point. This is after the Miami Grand Prix. This isn't including the Spanish Grand Prix. We will find that off Twitter. We'll find that out on the next race reaction. And the constructors, no teams lost or gained any positions in the Miami Grand Prix. Williams remained in 10th, Aston Martin 9th, Haas in 8th, AlphaTauri in 7th, Alpine in 6th, Alfa Romeo in 5th, McLaren in 4th, Mercedes in 3rd, Red Bull in 2nd, and Ferrari stay on top by 6 points. So a start and some upgrades for this race. Miami Grand Prix hit record viewership in the US with ABC's broadcast, including a pre-race show, averaging 2.1 million viewers. In comparison to 2021, F1 has seen a viewership increase of 49% over the first 5 rounds. And the Miami upgrades then. Mercedes front wing, rear wing, beam wing, Red Bull with none, Ferrari with the rear wing, McLaren front suspension and floor edge, Alpine rear brake drum, AlphaTauri and Aston Martin none, Williams and Alfa Romeo with the side pod cooling, and Haas with the rear wing. So we'll move on to the drivers then, starting with Guan Yu Zhou, who had to retire after 6 laps due to a technical issue. A sad end towards the race for Zhou, who was making progress towards the points, and he wasn't happy with it either. He was upset with that. So something that's out of his hands really there for Guan Yu Zhou to finish in 20th with a DNF. And we'll move on to the next driver in a moment, which is Lando Norris in the McLaren. So Lando Norris, he said, on the concrete barriers, as drivers, we often know better than the experts where the risk lies. You should listen to us every now and then. We gave our recommendation after Carlos's accident, and the FIA didn't react. It is not okay. So on to Pierre Gasly. Of course, Norris wasn't happy, and he DNF for something that's out of his control in a crash with Pierre Gasly. On to Pierre Gasly, who had to retire as well. Pierre Gasly, not a great race. He's not had a great season. He's not impressed as much as last season. And he needs to improve, and soon. So next up, Sebastian Vettel in the Aston Martin. Have we got anything on Vettel? No, we don't. A bit of a nothing race, to be honest. And Lance Stroll did a very good job to get into the points for Aston Martin. On to Kevin Magnussen. He had to DNF. Haas didn't have a great weekend. They're the same as Mick Schumacher there. On to Nicholas Latifi then. He brought out the red flag in practice and he stopped out on track with an issue, and it weren't a great weekend. He's officially been the worst driver this season so far. 0 points, and he is in 21st, and he is behind a reserve driver in Nico Hülkenberg. It's not been great by him. So next up, we have got who have we got next? Daniel Ricciardo in the McLaren. It seems as though Ricciardo had an issue that prevented him getting out earlier in qualifying. A shame. He'll have a lot of work to do for tomorrow, and he didn't really do it, did he? It weren't great by him. And he also got a 5-second penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. Magnussen also received a 5-second penalty for causing a collision. So next up then, Yuki Tsunoda, P12. Wasn't a great race, to be honest, was it, for Yuki? It was a great race for him in P12. P11, and of course, only missed out on points due to a penalty. It was Fernando Alonso in the Alpine. A disappointing penalty to make him finish out the points, and a disappointing result for Alpine. On to the drivers in the points then. Lance Stroll got in Q3 for Aston Martin. Got in the points for Aston Martin. For me, what a performance by Lance Stroll it was in Miami. In P9 was Alex Albon in the Williams. So a stat on Albon, in his last 3 races, of course, before Spain, P10 in Australia, P11 in Imola, and P9 in Miami. Not P10, of course, due to the Alonso penalty. Albon tweeted, "When you find out you are P9, points from P18 feels really good. I guess the red hair is here to stay. Let's keep pushing at Williams Racing." So he said, of course, there he is with the red hair. Alex Albon reckons his lucky red hair is here to stay after he put in another impressive drive in Miami. And he also said, "I got it dyed before Melbourne and we finished 10th. Then, as the dye faded away, we finished 11th in Imola, so it started to affect the performance. So we re-dyed it, hoping for more points." And of course, he finished in P9, Alex Albon. So, next up then, Esteban Ocon in the Alpine, a really good drive. Of course, he brought out the red flags in practice in Q3, which meant we can confirm that sadly Esteban won't be taking part in quali this afternoon. His chassis was cracked in the impact with the barrier and cannot be changed in time. Esteban is physically fine and will race on Sunday. And he said, "That was a big one, but I am okay. A cracked chassis means I won't be able to take part in quali today. Absolutely gutted, but full send for tomorrow, Alpine." And he said, the hardest race he's ever driven to get up to P8. And he also said, Alpine asked Ocon on team radio to back up Albon to create a 5-second gap. A 5-second gap for Alonso. Ocon elected against it. On this, it's worth noting that Albon was only 2 tenths away from taking P9 from Alonso, and he also got an extra penalty after the race, which meant he did take P9, Alex Albon. So next up is Valtteri Bottas. He had a crash in FP1, a damaged rear wing. A stat on Bottas: the Flying Finn achieved Alfa Romeo's best qualifying performance in nearly 3 years with P5. He tweeted after quali P5, he was happy with that. And he said after quali, "I really wanted to deliver for the team because of my mistake yesterday, and that makes me even more happy." A nice one, Valtteri Bottas. A start on Bottas. Valtteri Bottas P5 ahead of both Mercedes again, and that's after a crash in FP1 and no FP2 running. That is in qualifying. He was in P5. And he tweeted after the race, 7th place in Miami. He was happy with that result. Next up then is Lewis Hamilton. He says, "You have to feel for Hamilton today. Another untimely safety car. Still P5 and 6 are reasonable results for Mercedes." And he said after the race, "We haven't improved. We're the same speed as we were in the first race, and we just haven't improved in these 5 races. But I'm hopeful at some stage we will. We just have to keep trying and keep working hard." So yeah, so Hamilton would have took P5 and P6. Of course, Russell is still the only driver to finish in the top 5 of every race this season. George Russell, the man. So he was in P5, sorry. George Russell. Next up then, Sergio Perez. Of course, P4, the best of the good cars, weren't he, out of Ferrari and Red Bull. And then P3 was Carlos Sainz. He brought out the red flag in FP2. He said after quali, given from where I was coming from yesterday, I will take it. Tomorrow is going to be an interesting day. I think we can do a good job. And after the race, he said, we managed to keep the podium, so it's a decent result. It wasn't easy at all. It was a tough race. So then, in P2 was Charles Leclerc. He stuck it on pole. Pole position number 3 of the season. Pole position number 3 this season. Let's finish the job tomorrow. Good to have Carlos Sainz on the front row too. That was after quali. And his quote after quali, it's amazing. Today went well. We're starting on pole, so we need to finish the job tomorrow. And he tweeted after the race, disappointed that we didn't have enough pace to win the race today, but we'll work harder than ever to get back on top in the race pace. Miami, you were incredible though. Loved every second of the week. And he said after the race, it was a very difficult race physically. Towards the end, I thought I could get Max at one point, but today they had the advantage in terms of pace. But it was fun. Great to see so many people again. And finally, the winner of the race weekend, following a brush with the wall in FP1, Red Bull have changed Verstappen'S gearbox as a precaution. And he said after quali, to be that competitive in qualifying, I think we did a really good job, but we have to start making the weekends a little less difficult. And he, of course, won the race. Verstappen continued to win every race he's finished in 2022. DNF'd in Bahrain and Australia, won in Saudi, the Imola Sprint, Imola and Miami. And he tweeted, yes, boys, incredibly happy to win here in Miami. No weekend is ever easy in F1, especially on a new demanding track like this one. That's why I am all the more proud we were able to put it all together in the end. Great work, team. And he said after the race, I'm incredibly happy with winning here in Miami. It's an incredible Sunday for us. So we've gone through the drivers. Then we'll go through the teams. Starting with Williams. In FP1, 3.7 seconds was the gap between Albon and Latifi. Next up then, Aston Martin. So Aston Martin said, celebs on the grid, tick. Aston Martin on the grid, no. Both cars started from the pit lane. P8 in the constructors at this point is Haas. K-Mag out in the Haas with Mick up in P11. That was in Q1. And Haas have dropped crucial points in Miami, with Schumacher and Magnussen making costly errors. They will struggle to finish higher than P8 in the constructors with performances like that. And then next up is AlphaTauri. they say very strong performance from the AlphaTauri duo today. A massive recovery from qualifying in Imola. And then a quali quote, Helmut Marko on Gasly and Tsunoda. I have to name both of them top 10. Our Japanese driver is blossoming more and more. Both Tsunoda and Gasly were strong in the last races. Ideally, they both score points. And then next up is Alpine. Ocon had a good drive, not really for Alonso. He, of course, was out the points due to a penalty. And then after that, Alfa Romeo, Guan Yu Zhou unlucky with the engine. A very good drive by Valtteri Bottas though. McLaren then, Lando was in P3 in Q2. Daniel Ricciardo was P14. He's not doing well at the moment, is he? Big up ORT Racing in the chat. So McLaren, there, quite a difference between the two drivers. Mercedes then, P5, P6, quite a good result for them. So yeah, Mercedes, a very good performance by them. Red Bull, P1 and P4, quite a good result to be fair. But Verstappen, another race win, but they have to sort out his reliability. He's performing well when he can finish the race. When he doesn't finish, when he doesn't win, he doesn't finish. That is the trend so far this season. ORT Racing says Gasly was probably at fault for the accident with Norris because he rejoined in front of the McLaren and caused him to spin. And then Ferrari, the final team to go through. Ferrari took the first front row lockout since Mexico 2019, and Charles and Carlos first front row lockout as teammates. Yeah, I do know Spain has happened. I've just not had time to do Miami, so we're doing Miami now and Spain whenever possible. So, the driver of the weekend, I have gone, personally, Esteban Ocon. P20, of course, got unlucky in Q3, just lost the rear, not in Q3, sorry, in FP3, just lost the rear end, ended up in the wall, cracked chassis, meant he couldn't take part in qualifying, so he started in P20, moved up to P8, gained the most positions, and if Alonso did get in the points, I'd give my team of the weekend to Alpine, but I've given it to Williams. Albon was on good form until Spain, of course. So, team of the weekend for me, I've gone for Williams. Alex Albon up in P9, so I've given it to them. So that is it for today's episode of the race review. Everybody, thank you all so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter as well, at MCFCHibs, if you are new around here. Dugout Daily, the football channel. Hit the Apex, the F1 channel. And that is it for today. Everybody, take care, and we'll see you all soon. Goodbye for now.